Hey there, I'm Mac, and this is Crow, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a plush and fursuit maker in the furry community, and I'm a budding creator as I've only been making suits for the past couple of years. My art has most recently garnered attention after my most recent commission I finished, which is this cow named Tart, who is now owned by my friend Kai at Them Line Art. I've been getting a lot of messages recently, but one caught my eye and I thought it was a really great topic to talk about. The gist of what this message asked was how I started as a maker, some beginner insight knowledge of where to start and how to get out there. So that's exactly what I'll be talking about today in this video. I started making suits roughly 3 to 4 years ago. My very first suit is this one that you're looking at, Crow. She is my Sona and the culmination of all of my firsts. My first hand paws, tail, head, all that jazz. Before I started work on her, I watched so many videos of people making suits, and even when I thought I had watched enough tutorials, I never really felt ready to give it a go and dive in. It really just takes that courage to start, no matter if the outcome isn't exactly what you were going for. But these videos gave me a sense of what to expect, advanced techniques I'd eventually want to learn, and the very basics of putting the suit together in general. The items I started out making were arm sleeves and tails. They're simple to pattern, easy to sew, and give quick results. I think starting on something that is easy with a quick turnaround is not only exciting, but a huge confidence boost. Either of these items, depending on complexity of course, could be made within a day. I moved on to the more complicated items once I grew more confidence with the easier parts. I think hand paws and feet paws would be the next best step. Both were big challenges at first, but it's so exciting to see them come together. I remember thinking after I made my first hand paws, these ones, that I really did make that. It's very exciting when things finally work out. My first feet paws, though, were the first item I made that I was really proud of. I finally started feeling like I was getting the hang of things. And then the time to do the head base rolled around. I really dreaded this part because I knew for certain it wouldn't turn out anything like I wanted. I think I put off this project for a good 6 months while I scoured the internet for all the tutorials I could find and grew enough courage to finally try it out myself. Researching the style that you want to go with, I think, is really important, but more than that, just trying in the first place is great. I originally loved the toony style of heads. That was before I learned about kimono suits, which now is one of my favorite styles. But my preferred style is a mix of the two. Instead of trying to stylize and shape the head to my preferred style, however, I bought a Kloof Suits head base pattern and went with that. But this taught me a lot. I highly recommend, if you're struggling, purchase a pattern and study what makes it work. Which parts fill out the cheek, build up the muzzle, and so on. From that one Kloof Suits pattern, I have etched away at the bits I don't like and implemented what I do. I really learned a lot in regards to structure and how to get the build I'm looking for by studying other people's patterns and styles. This is why I say find the style that you like, so you can later dissect and build upon a pattern till you're confident enough to make your own. There are so many styles to choose from, so explore and find the one that fits you and your goals as a maker. Although my heads no longer resemble Kloof Suits, I still definitely use techniques I learned from building one of their heads. The last portion I learned to make was the suit. This was on purpose, as by now I had at least had a partial I could wear if I wanted, but to elevate the suit, I could add the body. Now I'll tell you this, the bodysuit really isn't as daunting as it looks. Yes, you can add fancy zippers to the feet or tail and interior removable padding for digilegs and all the complicated things, but those can be added after the fact. For now, I would focus on just the bodysuit. Determining digi versus planty is really just a fact of how much time you want to spend on the suit. Plantigrade obviously being the easier option. I don't think I'm the right person to ask on that front, as I started out with a digigrade suit. Go big or go home, right? But either way, I would suggest the duct tape dummy method. It's by far the most popular and easy way to gather measurements. There's little room for error when the mold is literally you, and there are plenty of tutorials online with how to do this. When it comes to padding, I prefer Mugiwaра's method for removable padding, but hot gluing some foam to some tights works just as well. Now, I'm no stranger to sewing, which definitely helped, but at this point in my life, I hadn't sewn since I was in middle school home economics. There were so many techniques that I had to learn, and this is exactly where I think most people should start. If you're a stranger to sewing, learning the basics of hand sewing is a must. You don't need an expensive sewing machine to get you started. Heck, you could hand sew the entire project if you wanted. But I would suggest learning a blanket stitch, for most of your hand sewing, as it's a strong locking stitch, as well as the ladder stitch. Both these are instrumental for great looking hand sewing. If you're able to in the future, a sewing machine is a very helpful tool and will push the process along much easier. However, it's not a must. If you are looking for a beginner friendly machine that is durable, Brother is my biased choice of brand. When it comes to fur, surprisingly enough, Hobby Lobby is a decent shop. Their fur isn't the highest quality you'll ever find, but it is good and definitely not poor quality. They tend to have an okay selection of faux fur and minky. Mostly natural or primary colors is what I tend to find there, and if you have one near you, you can skip the shipping costs, which are sometimes the same price or more than the actual fur. They also have fabric sales, I believe, every other week or so, which is great. Howell Fabrics, Big Z Fabrics, and FURSUIT Supplies are probably the most popular US suppliers. However, I'll let you in on a little secret. I find, personally, FURSUIT Supplies to be a little bit on the cheaper side when it comes to quality, and not really worth the price. Are they still an option when I absolutely can't find the right color in any other place I look? Yes, but I do try to steer clear as much as possible. Their body sprays, balaclavas, eye meshes, all great. Don't get me wrong, they have great products, but their fur feels tacky and the weft is thin and weak in my opinion. Another little secret that I'm coming to find a lot of people don't know about is Shannon Fabrics. I love Shannon Fabrics. Whenever I'm looking for a hard to find minky color, I go to Shannon. They are incredibly underrated and have very unique colors. They have been my long-term go-to for those impossibly difficult minky colors to find. I'll let you know now, the only materials that are a must-have to start fursuit making are sewing needles and thread. White or black will do just fine. You don't need the entire rainbow, as most of, if not all, your stitches should be hidden. If you are using a dark fabric, use black thread, and if you're using a light fabric, use white thread. You'll need pins to pin your fabric together. Some people like to use those mini chip bag clasps, but I find them just annoying, clunky, and they just pop off the thick fur. I prefer to stick with the standard sewing pins. You'll need your faux fabric of choice, and foam and hot glue for the head base. You can also grab EVA foam if you plan to do the feet, but that's all you'll need to do the bare basics. And of course, once you've decided to really commit or elevate your suit, you can buy minky for things like paw pads and tongues and noses and so on. A breathable sweat wicking fabric like my personal favorite, which is jersey or spandex sports mesh. You'll need this for lining the feet, hands, and the head. Various patterns off Etsy will help you improve patterning and consistency if you have none yet. A pet shaver or even a vacuum pet shaver to shave the face, paw fingers, and toes, and even a sewing machine, which will help with efficiency and durability. These aren't must-have items, but having everything I've listed in both these sections will help tremendously. However, the most important thing when fursuit making is to just have fun. Be creative and enjoy yourself. That's what this hobby is all about. Your fursuit may turn out fantastic, and it may not, but as long as you're enjoying yourself, I'd call it a success. If you're having trouble patterning, I'd highly suggest looking for some patterns online, like on Etsy. There are many patterns available at relatively decent prices. For most patterns, you will have to know the basics of sewing, which is why I stress you learn that first. Some patterns come with tutorials, which teach you how to piece the project together, and some do not and can be a bit confusing. Read through the description and reviews to determine how beginner-friendly a pattern is, and decide for yourself if you think you're ready for it. When it comes to patterning the head or body, I'd suggest mirroring the pattern when possible. It keeps the design consistent and even throughout. Of course, if your design is asymmetrical, then this isn't an option, but where possible, I would suggest this. Following patterning, when it comes to the body, I would highly suggest taping your dummy, then stuffing it, and then taping it again a second time. This way, not only is there a little bit of leeway room, but you can also use the dummy underneath as a mannequin and for future suits without needing to make another one. Dummies typically require help to make, so if you don't have to rely on that and can simply stuff and unstuff your dummy when needed, it's very helpful. Above all else, shaving was the most difficult thing for me to learn. It's still a technique I'm perfecting. A vacuum pet shaver and a lot, and I mean a lot, of patience definitely helps. Slow and even movements and a gradual descent to the length that you want are what really helped me get better shaving. You can use a typical pet shaver perfectly, but I find the fact that the vacuum sucking up the fibers not only helps keep particles from getting in your eyes, mouth, and nose, and in the air in general, but it keeps the shaver from getting clogged or pushing the loose fibers into the ones you're currently trying to shave. It just makes life a whole lot easier. If you're looking to sell items, Etsy is a good starting point, but graduating to Facebook, then later Instagram, are what I'd suggest. There's a bigger pool of people to notice you in those platforms, especially specifically design groups on Facebook. Etsy was a great starting point for me as it taught me how to work with commissioners and their vision. I could just post a listing and sit back and wait for someone to order. The problem with Etsy is, number one, how much they take from your sales, and number two, if you aren't a star seller, your page usually gets pushed to the background. Once you break through, it's a nice way to sell some items. However, until then, it's a bit of a struggle. I do really appreciate the fact that I started on Etsy though, because the system automatically reminds buyers about things in their cart, as well as asks them to leave a review if they haven't. These reviews are what have garnered me traction in other platforms, as it gives people a almost buyer perspective of what it's like to work with you and what to expect. You don't exactly get reviews off Facebook or Instagram, unfortunately, so this really helped for prospective commissioners. I didn't really start selling full suits, or even partials for that matter, till I started joining furry and fursuit making groups on Facebook. Unlike Etsy, where customers are looking for any and everything across the board, in these groups, people are specifically looking for what you specialize in. Facebook really gave me the expertise I needed to start marketing. As a prospective self-owned business, you'll need to wear a lot of hats, and marketing is certainly one of them. But when you're in a group tailored to folks who want the thing you're selling, by golly, does it make it that much easier. So I definitely recommend looking for groups for furries, for selling fursuits, for suit makers, and even furries in your area. Start putting your work out there as much as you can. Each time you learn a new technique or make a new part for your suit, bit by bit, you'll start getting people interested in your journey and cultivate a following. Eventually, when your comms open, you'll hopefully have people already interested in your stuff. It may take time. Well, actually, it will definitely take time, but I certainly found Facebook to be a great jumping off point to market from and to get noticed. Don't be afraid to post multiple times on the same platform that your comms are open, or for advice and other helpful tips. I just recently started advertising on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as Facebook. The more places your work is, the more eyes are on it, which means the more potential for commissions. Having examples can really make or break a sale. Luckily, through Etsy, I made various parts like arm sleeves, hand paws, feet. People do still ask for even more examples that I just don't currently have, but even a few will definitely help those interested decide whether or not to commission you. Having none at all, though, is more of a risk for the buyer, and they'll most likely go elsewhere. Making a pre-made suit over time from spare and extra parts not only gave me examples to post, but a pre-made to sell after the fact. I ended up making this cotton candy Shiba called Sai and selling it on the dealer's den about 3 months ago. This means I was able to take the time to learn and practice more. I got even more examples to post and was able to sell it in the end, which means it wasn't really a loss for me, which is really awesome. The surefire way to get clients interested in your stuff is to be consistent and to post everywhere. Even when you're not open for commissions, posting a little jig on TikTok, or like I'm currently doing now on YouTube, will garner attention and lead people to eventually find out that you make suits. It's definitely hard work, and I am still mastering the art of marketing myself, but it will help exponentially in the future. It took me 2 years to start and complete making Crow, my first suit. It was a lot of learning and having to keep self-motivated. I passed my self-imposed deadline not once, but twice, before ever finishing her. But boy was it worth it, and I was so happy to finally have her completed. My work since then has only improved, not only in quality, but technique and efficiency. I've found my style and am now on my second commission, which will be my 4th suit with 3 more on the way. I started on Etsy, selling plushies and keychains and fursuit parts here and there whilst working my 9 to 5. Originally, I created that Etsy page to put money aside for my college. I quickly learned, however, that crafting and suit making was where I wanted to be. It was all I could think about when I was doing my real job. So I worked as hard as I could to sell as much as possible on Etsy, save every cent, and build a name for myself. I finally saved enough to quit my job and start fursuit making full-time in March of this year. It's been quite a roller coaster ride, and I've doubted myself along the way. It's crazy I started hand sewing half strung together Barbie clothes when I was about 8, and now I'm here, and I'm eternally grateful and blessed for that. Success in this community takes time, and I'm not even half as successful as most. There are also so many kind people willing to push you forward and help where they can. This is my little piece of that, helping others by expanding the love of this hobby in any way that I can. So whatever project you've got in mind, my advice is to just go for it. Take that leap and just see what comes out of it. There's no harm in trying. I believe in you and your dream. It was once my dream, and now, strangely, it's my reality. So I'm proof that you can do it too. Thank you all for watching, and have a fantastic day.